Isobel, what influenced your career choice? Why did you become a nutrition educator?
I was teaching at a college, and my nutrition students wanted to develop some materials and activities for their fellow students to help them to eat better. I worked with them on that, and it took a lot of hard work and some thought, but it was also a lot of fun. Their fellow students really appreciated these activities. That's when I realized that nutrition education is really important, and that's what I wanted to do.
So why did you join SNEB? What roles has it played in your professional life?
I attended my first SNE meeting in 1973. I believe it was only the third meeting of this recently founded society. Well, I immediately felt at home, both professionally and personally. And I've been to every meeting since, except one when I was sick. And I have all the issues of the journal at home. SNEB has helped me enormously in my career. Indeed, I would go so far as to say that without SNEB, I would not have a career in nutrition education. Annual meetings had content presented that was very important to me. Nutrition education research, practice, policies, the latest in communication principles, novel approaches, etc. However, much more important was the fact that at these meetings, I was able to network with other people, to share ideas, be inspired, and build collaborations. Furthermore, SNEB is a rather small organization, and it has a family feel to it. And so I have developed friendships, both nationally and worldwide, that have lasted for decades.
So the role of nutrition educator has changed over the years. How do you see the role of SNEB playing in that evolution? And in particular, can you talk about the addition of the word behavior to the name of the organization?
When I first started in the field, nutrition education was about providing information under the assumption that once people were informed, they would make healthy choices. Truthfully, I believe that myself from my science background. In the 1980s, there was a big burst of interest in nutrition education with conferences and working groups to talk about what exactly should nutrition education be about. It was attended by lots of nutrition educators from SNEB, me among them. And it was also attended by psychologists, anthropologists, communicators, and they brought new perspectives and suggested new approaches. Also, in 1995, I was asked by USDA to lead a review, along with colleagues, of programs and research related to nutrition education to answer two questions. Is nutrition education effective? And if so, what contributed to effectiveness? We examined 287 studies, and this resulted in a 142-page issue of the journal. We came up with several conclusions. First, that nutrition education was more likely to be effective if it focused on motivating and facilitating behavior change. Also, it should use some kind of a theoretical framework, and it should be systematically planned. With all of these activities and ongoing research, it became clear that nutrition education should be about motivating and facilitating and empowering behavior change. As a result of that, SNE changed its name to Society for Nutrition Education and Behavior in order to emphasize that it was about behavior change. And government programs such as WIC and SNAP-Ed also changed their focus to be on behavior change.
So talk a little bit more about why it's important to understand the fields of psychology and communication and education in this work.
After decades of work and reflection, and after many studies with my colleague, Dr. Pamela Cook, I came to the conclusion that nutrition education was really a complicated endeavor, and that in order to bring about behavior change, we really needed to understand and apply other disciplines as well. Of course, we need to have a solid foundation in food and nutrition in order to choose the behavior change goal of the program. But we need to draw upon psychology in order for us to understand what motivates and facilitates behavior change. Then we need to draw on education for how to create activities and arrange them in some kind of a sequence that makes educational sense. And finally, we need to understand principles of communication so that we can deliver our nutrition education in a way that engages audience. And of course, all of us should be part of a cultural context. At the same time, a second shift occurred in nutrition education when it became clear that in order for there to be individual behavior change, there needed to be a supportive environment. So that led to what's called the social ecological model, where nutrition educators work with collaborators to make the environment supportive of behavior change. Social ecological model is usually shown as a series of circles, concentric circles. At the foundation are activities directed at the individual for behavior change, but we need to take into account family, social networks. And in the next circle, we need to take into account communities and organizations and even sectors in society at large. Government programs such as SNAP-Ed also moved to a focus on changes in policy, systems, and environment to bring about individual behavior change. And that's sometimes referred to as PSE. Third shift occurred in nutrition education when it became clear that nutrition education was really about food and nutrition education, and we needed to pay a lot more attention to the food part of it. So that has led to the incorporation of cooking and gardening as part of nutrition education. Also, it has become very clear that we need to pay attention to the sustainability of the food system that brings us all our food. And these are issues that my colleague, Dr. Joan Gusso, has been advocating for decades. The world has finally caught up with her. So nutrition education now also includes considerations of the sustainability of the food system as part of its scope. And added to that now are concerns about food justice, environmental justice, and even climate change. SNAB has been at the forefront of all of these activities.
So how are nutrition educators to do all of this?
Yes. Evidence suggests that to turn all of these great ideas into reality, we really need a systematic process. Over the years, my colleague, Dr. Pamela Cook, and I created and then honed a procedure that we call the design procedure. Design is an acronym. It stands for D, decide the behavior change goal of your program. E, explore motivators and facilitators. S, select your theoretical framework. I is for indicate your objectives. G is for generate your plans. And N is for nail down the evaluation plan. The design procedure can be used for group education, whether it's in person or whether it's through various media, and also for designing environmental support plans. So there you have it. Nutrition education in a nutshell.
So what do you think makes SNEB a unique organization within the field?
Well, SNEB is the only organization that really focuses on nutrition education. And it addresses the full range of nutrition education, from research to policy to practice and communication principles. It's also international, so that it provides a global perspective and also many opportunities for international collaborations.
So we have this book here about Mary Schwartz Rose, who founded the nutrition program at Columbia Teachers College. Can you talk just a little bit about her legacy and your experience coming to this institution?
Yeah, she founded the nutrition program 110 years ago. What I think we took from her, she was always very solidly grounded in nutrition science, but also in nutrition education. All of this was focused on the importance of food in people's lives. I think that as a program, and for me, it has been wonderful to try to follow in her footsteps, to focus both on the content of nutrition education as well as the process, and to recognize that helping people develop positive experiences with food is very, very important.
So what do you think are SNEB's most significant contributions to the field?
SNEB as an organization and its members have contributed enormously to the various shifts in nutrition education that have occurred over the last few decades. In fact, I would go so far as to say that without SNEB, we would not have the robust nutrition education field that we have today.
What advice would you have for someone who's considering integrating nutrition education into their career in the future?
Nutrition education is a wonderful, open, and evolving field. It's about food and nutrition, which are, of course, fundamental to all of human life. So it can be incorporated into any career path. To help educators along their career path, SNEB has published a list of nutrition educator competencies. These nutrition education competencies are in 10 areas. 6 of them relate to nutrition education content and 4 to nutrition education process. In terms of content, the competencies are in basic food and nutrition knowledge, nutrition across the life cycle, food science, physical activity, food and nutrition policy, agricultural production, and food systems. In terms of nutrition education process, it's behavior and education theory, nutrition education program design, implementation, and evaluation, written, oral, and social media communications, as well as nutrition education research methods. So I would advise the person to take a look at these. And if there are any competencies they want to strengthen, they should attend SNEB seminars or webinars and the annual meeting, because each of these sessions lists the competencies that that session will address. These competencies are on the website for anyone who wants to look them up.
It's important for everyone to understand that these competencies are evidence-based, and you can read more about the evidence behind all the competencies in the Journal of Nutrition Education and Behavior. So presumably, these competencies will have to be updated. So what do you think are some of the things that people should be thinking about in the future as they revisit them and reevaluate them?
Well, the field has become much more aware of the importance of incorporating diversity into its work. And so I think the next competency should really dive into how for nutrition education to be more inclusive and to be take into account diversity. Nutrition education research is ongoing, so if there are additional approaches that seem to be effective, they should be incorporated as well.
Especially since the whole point was to create competencies that are evidence-based. It would be really important to make sure that the evidence is still there. And that
That's true.
As it changes, the competencies will have to change.
They should become more active in SNEB because it's a great and warm home for nutrition educators to grow and to flourish. You know that you're aiming to make a difference in the lives of people, communities, and in fact, the planet. And I would highly recommend it to anyone who is interested.
Well, thank you very much, both for your contributions to the field, which have been significant, as well as your contributions and connection to the Society for Nutrition Education and Behavior.